Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another trading day. Welcome to my channel, Odutola Capital. Today is September 29th. Let's take a look at the stocks that I'm going to be trading for today. So I use FinViz. So I'm going to go to Stock Screener to screen for the stocks. I don't know what this is. It's just popped up. Let me go back. So go back to Screener. So my price range is going to be stocks under $50. Current volume, I want to do over 2 million. Average volume over 2 million. Market cap is going to be under 10 billion. Now, depending on the type of trader you are, your criteria is probably going to be different, but these are my criteria. So on the technical side, I look at average true range is going to be over 1, and also gap up, gapping down. So as you can see, I have about 3 pages right here. Let me get my pen out. So I have about 3 pages. Now I like to narrow this down to about a page or so, so that I'm not going through like a whole bunch of stock. But with that said, let's see. So I'm going to go to the gap. I'm going to go to gap down. I like to do gap down 1% first. See how many pages I have. About 2 pages. So now I'm going to go to the percentage change. I will click on it. So 11% is the highest. Let me go to gap down 0% and see. I have 3 pages. So let's go to gap down 1% will be a little bit better. So yesterday the market sold off quite drastically. Let's look at what was happening in the market yesterday. So this is my platform right here, daytrade Pro. That is what I use for trading. So let's take a look at what happened. So the market, what we use to measure the market is going to be the SPY. That's what I use. Of course, you can use other indicators. So you see the market, this right here. Look at this chart right here. You see the market sold off drastically from right here, about 440 all the way to about high of 440 all the way to a low of is this 431 or so. You see that? So that was a big sell-off yesterday. Now, what I also like to look at is also going to be the volatility index. What is going on with the market? So the volatility index is the VIX, VIX. You see it's slightly elevated. I like it to be elevated because for my strategy, which I do scalp, and I scalp on the short side. So I like to see it elevated because it makes my strategy work a little bit better. So let's take a look at, go back to FinViz. So on FinViz, I have these stocks. Now I pull up my notepad. I start documenting which stocks are going to make the best sense for me to trade for today. So let's go through each one of these stocks one by one. So I look at the stocks based on the float. So I'm looking for stocks with a float less than 500 million float. So what I do now is I go to custom and I have the stocks and their floats. So I like to look at stocks with less than from 30 to 500 million float. So mostly mid float stocks. Then I can now research stocks that have low floats. But mostly I like to look at mid float first, then move to low float. And the way I categorize my own mid float, and it depends on you. Sometimes people, depending on, I categorize my mid float from 30 million floats to 500 million. Some people use 30 to 200 million, but I like to use 500 million for my mid float stocks. So let's go down this list. So the first one I do have here, going down the float, I have JMIA, JMIA. You see this sell-off on JMIA right here. So I click on it and see if this stocks meets the criteria that I'm looking for. So JMIA JMIA Technologies. It's out of Germany. It has an ATR of 1.3. So I look at the ATR, I look at the float, I look at the institutional ownership, which is about 30%. So I go on to my notepad, I document JMIA. So I look at the 30%, it's the institutional ownership. I look at the ATR. So you just know that's what I'm documenting on my other screen. And I like to look at the average volume, which is about 3.99 million. 3.99 million. One last thing I like to check will be the news. Is there any specific news on this particular stock? So JMIA on September 22nd. So we don't have any September 29 date. So it looks like we're just moving based on what the market is moving, what the market was doing. So is it going to continue to sell off today? We don't know. Basically, all I can do is just monitor and trade it as I go if I see that it's beginning to sell off too. So I have that stock on my watch list. So I go back and look at the daily chart. Look at this sell off. I like to also look at the daily chart real quick. You see this sell off right here. Let me get this right. This sell off right here. So that's what I'm looking for. I like this pattern. I want to see this stock continue to sell off, but it's been in this range for a while. So maybe breaking that down out of this range, but you never know what the stock is going to do. It can either go this way or let me remove my head. It can either go this way or go that way. So we never know what these stocks are going to do. All right. So let's move to the next stock. Let's see. So I have one, JMIA. So I go down with the float. So I have JMIA Technology, MGNI. So I have MGNI. Let's take a look at this. MGNI2 was selling off. MGNI. So let's take a look at this. This has an ATR of 1.57. Average volume of 2.2. 65% institutional ownership. So MGNI, did he have any specific news? So I'm going to document that too. MGNI. So it had 2.02. So let's take a look. Is there any news on this? There's no specific news. So that's the second stock I do have. I'm going to be watching. The next stock, let's see. So we'll go down this list. I've traded SLQT before, so it might be a good option. So let's take a look at this. Selling off too. Like to look at the chart real quick. Selling off. Then, and most of these stocks were moving based on the market anyway. So let's have this. So the ATR 67% institutional ownership. So I'm going to document that. SLQT. We have ATR 1.10. So this is the ATR right here. Average volume 3.19 million. Average volume and 67% institutional ownership. 7%. Okay, then let's see if there's any specific news. All right, so this right here looks like there's something here. So it says something about class action update. This right here, I do not understand this type of news on this particular stocks. So I really don't pay attention to this because it doesn't really make any sense. I don't know what this means. So I just don't pay attention to this type of news because it really doesn't make any sense. Because from my experience, the stocks have never moved based on this type of news. So I just don't even pay attention. Now, if it was a federal investigation, then yeah, that's a good type of news to pay attention to. But this right here, so I'll just have it on my list. So I have now JMIA, I have MGNI. Let me put it right here. So I have these stocks right now that I'm going to be watching for the day. Okay, so let's go down and see if we have any better stocks also to put on the list. So SLQT. Now I have TIGR. TIGR has been just a big mover this whole week on the downside and somewhat on the upside. So I'm just going to put that on my list just from trading it based on experience. TIGR. So let's just take a look at what it's doing. Another sell-off too. Look at it right here. It's selling off and it looks a little bit small right here. So I have TIGR. The next one, I do have RIOT, which has a float of 87. So I don't trade Bitcoin stocks. Now, the reason why I don't trade the Bitcoin stocks is because of the price action. The price actions are just not easy to read. And when I mean price action, I'm talking about the tape. Like the level 2 and the time and sales are not too easy for me to read. So I just stay away from this type of stocks. The next one I do have a FUBO, FUBO. Now, the reason why I will not trade FUBO, you see, it's selling off drastically. Look at this. Sell off right here. And it has a float of 127, 1.41 ATR. Average volume 6.48. Does he have any specific news? It does have some type of news to its name. FUBO launches e-commerce for exclusive brand. So basically, this type of stock, because of the news, does not really say anything. Now, the reason why I won't trade this stock, I'll go into my platform. So I go into FUBO, FUBO. Now, I'm going to go into, you see where it says S right here? Where it says S. I like to pay attention to this because it tells you, whenever it says S, it tells you that the stock is shortable. So one thing I like to look at is, how much am I going to be paying to short this particular stock? So what I like to do, I'll click on S. Right now, as we speak, it says 25% short margin rate. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to be putting 25% of my money. But it so happens that whenever FUBO, prior to when the market opens, now is about 3:32 a.m. So it's 3:32 a.m. The short margin is pretty decent, but whenever the market opens with this particular stock, it goes up to 300%. So this right here goes up to 300%. So that's why I'm not interested in trading this particular stock for right now, because I've seen it from experience that it's going to go to 300%. So I'm just not going to touch it. So let's go to the next stock on this list. So FUBO is out of the question. So Mara, this is going to be a Bitcoin stock. I'm not going to touch it, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't touch biotech stocks too, so we'll leave that alone. FSLY. For some reason, this particular stock, I've been seeing it on my list. Okay, I don't like the price action right here. You see this chop fest like this? it is range bound, like it's trading in this range, so I'm just not going to touch it. And we can further confirm this by me going on my platform, FSLY. So FSLY, you see this? I go on my platform, it's in this range, there's no motion. So that's why I'm just not going to touch this particular stock. I want volatility because I'm a scalp trader. I'm looking for volatility in these particular stocks. All right, so let's move on to the next stock on the list. So we have about 4 stocks right now. So MTTR actually moved pretty good yesterday. I just couldn't catch the move. I was too late to the move. I had it on my list, so I'm going to put it back on my list. Right here it doesn't show what the float is, but let me see, what's the float here on here? So MTTR, it doesn't say what the float is, but I think, remember from yesterday, it actually was a mid float, so I'm going to leave it on here. So MTTR is going to go back to my list. I had it yesterday. I'm going to put it back. So LAC, basic materials, I don't like to trade those type of stocks. NVTA too was on my list, so it had a big sell-off yesterday. I'm going to put it back on my list. You see, it's trending now, which I like. So I'm going to put it back on my list. So NVTA, the ATR is 1.43, float 170, institutional is about 82%. So average volume on this right here is 3 million. So I'm putting NVTA back on my list. So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 stocks right now. Does this have any specific news? I don't see any specific news on this particular stock. So the next one I do have here, I see is Skin. SKIN. Let's take a look at what this one is. I don't have any information on float here. Do I have any news? Okay, this particular stock, it has gone on like somewhat of a parabolic move and is selling off right here. Okay, so I mean it can still go up this way, but I like the chart on this particular stock. I don't know what the float information is. Okay, so Skin, it has an institutional ownership of 60%, ATR of 1.51, average volume of 2.51. So I'm going to have this on my list also, and I'll further research what the float is later. So I might take it off. After I figure out what the float is on this particular stock, I can just Google it actually. So I go to Google. So stock, Skin, stock, float. The float is about 82 million float. So right here, so it's 85 million float. So I'm using Market Watch. I just Googled it. 85 million float. Okay, so I'll have this on my list. So 85 million float. Okay, so I have pretty much let's see. So right now we have pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stocks. So this is good enough. I'm not going to go down this list. I might just browse it real quick. NTNX, BBBY, SPRW. Okay, so I'm just going to just browse this. I've seen this. I don't like the chart on this. So basically, this is all we have for the day. So I have JMIA, MGNI, SLQT, TIGR, MTTR, NVTA, SKIN. So these are the stocks I'm going to add to my watch list. So what I'll do is just add this stock right here, add it to my watch list on the stocks I'm going to be watching for today. In addition to my research that I do in the morning prior to when the market opens, I'm going to do additional research of what stocks that are gapping down this morning. So with that said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment below on my process on finding the stocks in which I'm going to be trading. What's your process on finding stocks that you're going to be trading for the day? Comment below. So thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Odutola Capital. Thank you.